Hello, everyone. This is Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to the One Bitcoin Show. Today is February the 17th. 2019, strong hand, offended by selling, value your wealth in Bitcoin, unconfiscatable. Personal responsibility is a new counterculture. Okay, people, check out the links below. Everything I talk about this video is linked to below. And check out techbalt.com. That is, This Week in Bitcoin was great on Friday. And check out disruptmeister.com. Watch all my shows, including yesterday's Beyond Bitcoin show. But going back to Friday's show, Tawanda Kembo was on from Zimbabwe. And Crypto Shrugged, he's got a book. Crypto Shrugged Author is his official name. You buy his book. It's linked to on Friday's show also. He's traveling all over the world. And Ed, BGold Ed was on. But I just wanted to mention Tawanda. There's a lot of stuff going on in Zimbabwe. And if you watch the video, he couldn't answer one question. And it just shows you how wild the situation is in Zimbabwe. So I said this on yesterday's show also. Let us think of Tawanda, and hopefully everything will get straightened out in Zimbabwe. And this is why you need Bitcoin. When you're in a situation like he's in, where you got to be careful what you even say on a video that a bunch of Americans are watching. And it's not only Americans watching this, of course. I know people all around the world, but it is mostly Americans. But hey, I love you guys worldwide. England, I'm in Israel right now. We got people watching all over. Maybe in Zimbabwe too. Probably not though, but they turned the internet off in Zimbabwe at one point. That was also mentioned on the show. Watch the show. Yes, you need Bitcoin when your country turns the internet off on you. And yeah, people have died in Zimbabwe recently. Anyway, because the government has killed people. There have been street battles and such. This is and people don't know about this. I'm glad I can have people on from Venezuela and Zimbabwe. Again, you can come to a channel where they're guests from places where people really need Bitcoin, or you can go just to a channel with fancy sets and graphics that just talk about nonsense. Choice is yours. Personal responsibility is a new counterculture. Pound that like button. I like the rough and tumble world of the Bitcoin Meister. But of course, I am the Bitcoin Meister. So yeah, I'm going to like my channel. Best one out there, baby. In terms of original content, you can't beat this thing. All right, so we talked about Tawanda a little bit. Let's talk about this tweet, which I should have put this in the title. But again, I'm not a clickbaitster, so I put whatever I feel like in the darn title. But this is a tweet. It's disturbed. It's not a disturbing Black Mirror episode. It's IMF Task planning a global monetary policy abuse to enforce a dystopian future. We have Bitcoin. They've already lost the war, but I'm afraid there might be blood. Okay, well, just ignoring the blood part. And I linked to this IMF blog post. Cashing in how to make negative interest rates work. So it's all about how they would, how could negative interest rates work? And you get rid of cash in a country, and people, if they keep their money in the bank, their e-money in the bank, they're charging negative interest rate. So they are encouraged to, if they keep their e-money in the bank, it's going to lose value. You're going to get charged. So you're encouraged to spend it on nonsense. And they talk about where cash would be. And especially that cashless scenario, that seems pretty likely. And again, the IMF is writing about this openly. We can have negative interest rates. This is also. So how do you get around that? Well, you value your wealth in Bitcoin. You get you think to yourself now, well, you know, I don't want to get into a situation if my country becomes cashless and my money is disappearing when it's in the bank. So I'm going to get Bitcoin now. They can't control that at all, and I'll be able to use Bitcoin alternatively to instead of the e-money that will be that'll have a negative interest rate when it's kept in the bank. It's unbelievable. But read it for yourself. It's true. It's true. Again, you see there's two. Read the global elites. Oh, I hate them. Oh, what shall we do? Woe is me. There's a conspiracy. Rothschild. Or you and whatever. They can do whatever, they'll succeed, but I'll be fine. And it's just a bunch of bankers trying to make a lot of money. It works. People try to make money, and whoever's in power is in power. And the IMF, they think that's a great idea. Great. It's not a conspiracy. It's out there. You can complain about it, or you can actually do something and be in motion. I choose to be in motion. I've been in motion for quite some time getting that Bitcoin. And I didn't know there was going to be negative interest rates were on the table and in that manner where you're forced into it. My Lord. All right. But hey, it's not here yet. So maybe it won't happen. But whatever. You want insurance against that, don't you? Don't you? Think ahead. Be in motion. All right. So in what is happening, though, what is definitely going on right now is coin. This is a tweet from whatever. It's linked to below. Coin Mama Exchange suffers security breach with 450,000 users' data compromised. Okay, this is why exchanges collecting KYC put their users' personal data at risk for the same way being Bitcoin custodians put their funds at risk. So yeah, by the way, so why I'm sharing this is, yeah, this exchange didn't lose any Bitcoin, but they lost all of their users' personal data. So even if you didn't have any Bitcoin on there, if you were doing the right thing, stored your Bitcoin on your Trezor and everything, but you had been a trader, you had been trading, you know, what's some coin? I can't even think. Your Ripple for Bitcoin or Bitcoin for Ripple or some nonsense. They have all. So the hacker gets your personal information. He can steal your ID, and then do who knows what with it. So yeah, there are all sorts of costs for using these exchanges. Even if you think you're doing the right thing, if you're using a KYC exchange and you have no Bitcoin there, you've already given up your KYC information. That's terrible to one of these ludicrous exchange. I mean. Coin Mama, you'd give up your personal information to Coin Mama so you could trade some IOTA. Okay. That's what happens. These things are all going to get hacked. So I had a guy in Argentina who's in motion. And you know, I was thinking, I'm talking about a lot of countries tonight. I'm going to talk about Norway. I'm going to talk about Israel, Zimbabwe, Argentina. I had been to all these countries, and I know Bitcoin people in all these countries. And you know, 4 years ago in 2015, I had been to Israel and Argentina, but I didn't know Bitcoin people. I had no Bitcoin connections in all these countries. And it just shows you in 4 years how if you're in motion, man, you can get contacts in all sorts of, you can go to all sorts of countries. So since 2015, I've traveled to all those countries. I made Bitcoin friends in all those countries, and I get Bitcoin tips, news from people from all those countries, including what I'm about to tell you. So here's a dude. This guy, it's linked to below. It's an Airbnb link. He gives a tour. We will visit the central bank. It's a $25 tour. So if you're in Buenos Aires, take this. It seems like it's fun. Or maybe. We will visit the Central Bank Museum, where we will go through the history of money in general. Then look to Argentina particular money issues, like monetary politics and their results in our country. Later, we will walk through the financial district to finally sit down to have coffee, where we can start learning about Bitcoin, learn how to configure your wallet, and how to protect your Bitcoin in the most secure way. Next step will be walk to Florida Street, surrounded by arbolitos, to find the Bitcoin ATM and learn how to buy and sell the currency. the place where you can have your first Satoshi. So, okay, maybe if you already hold Bitcoin, this tour isn't for you, but maybe it is, and you just want to learn about the, this Argentina definitely has a financial history. I like what this guy is doing. He's a lot of, all sorts of tourists like to go on all sorts of tours in Argentina. They understand it's under some financial craziness right now, and some of them might just go on this tour and then end up getting some Bitcoin through it. So this guy's in motion. Good job, dude. It's linked to below. You can tell your relatives who are going down to Argentina and maybe they don't know about Bitcoin to take the tour and learn about the history, and they get some Bitcoin when they're there. It's a creative idea. Good for this guy. Good for this guy. He's in motion, and I like people that are in motion. By the way, thank you. Someone sent me some Bitcoin recently. Thank you very much for the person who sent me some Bitcoin. I haven't checked my, I've got altcoins listed down there also. I haven't checked those for a while, those addresses, but I do appreciate everybody who contributes to the show, whether through the super chat or through the altcoins or through Bitbacker. Vote me on Steemit. I'm Bitcoin Meister there. And by pounding that like button and spreading this on Twitter, I tweet all these shows out. You can retweet them. That's fine. That's a way to support the show too. Retweet my tweets. That's always fun. Okay, Aaron Von Weirdum. He has a tweet out there. I haven't listened to this yet, but he tells epic Bitcoin journalism tales on Trace Mayer's Bitcoin Knowledge podcast. So that is linked to below. Trace, when he does produce his podcast, they're very good. And of course, Aaron and Trace have both been on the show before. So someone who hasn't been on the show is Andreas Antonopoulos. He has a great video out there. I link to it below. Bitcoin questions and answers. The making the legacy system obsolete, basically. And he thinks the legacy system will become obsolete eventually. That's not the interesting part of the video. What I really like is him saying you don't have to run a full node if you technically can't do it. Okay, if you're not comfortable doing that, you can contribute to the Bitcoin ecosystem by just holding your Bitcoin on your Trezor, valuing your wealth in Bitcoin by charging people in Bitcoin, and by he says by spending Bitcoin. Again, I'm offended by selling, but whatever. If you're going to spend your Bitcoin, that is contributing to the ecosystem, as he puts it. He says just make sure you don't. The best thing you can do to contribute to the ecosystem is not let a third party hold your Bitcoin. Okay, hold it yourself. Basically, he agrees with me. Get your mind into the value your wealth in Bitcoin mindset. So live your life the way I do. I value my wealth. I'm just trying to earn Bitcoin. I'm saving Bitcoin. I don't I control my Bitcoin. It is my savings. I don't have to worry about the IMF and negative interest rates and whatever's going to happen in the future. I don't. And so, yeah, it's a great video, though. It is a very good video. All his videos are good. Okay, so tonight, speaking about traveling around, I was at the Bitcoin Embassy here in Tel Aviv, and everyone knows I do enjoy meeting people in person, and I enjoy interacting with everyone online here too. But there's a certain awesomeness when you get to meet the people who have watched you online, and they already feel like they know you, and you know them because they know so much about you. And so yeah, it was good hanging out at the. And again, I'm at the Tel Aviv Bitcoin Embassy every Sunday. And I'm going to be here until I'm leaving Tel Aviv on March 12th. So there's still plenty of time to hang out. But even when I'm not here, anyone who visits Tel Aviv should hang out at the Bitcoin Embassy on Sunday nights. I was talking to someone, and she was just telling me, how we've got to make Bitcoin a little less technical so more people feel comfortable. And I agreed. And she says she likes my videos because there's not a technical spin to it. It's speaking real, easy to understand Bitcoin concepts, just savings, long-term, deferral of gratification, very, very basic things that anyone can understand, but are really some of the, base layers of Bitcoin. It's this deflationary currency. It's not inflationary. And it's, personal responsibility. It's actually control. It's not relying on a third-party bank. And so I also shared that, and she agreed, And there were other people talking also. You know, there's this guy Brett, who's originally from Virginia, who was there also. And Or is the name of the lady. I mean, I was trying to keep her private, unless she doesn't care about being private or not. She's had she had a channel once, and but she was just talking about ways of being in motion. We were all talking about way of how to be in motion in the Bitcoin world. But one thing that I brought up, and I said I was going to bring it up tonight on the show, is that, you know, the language that some people are using. You know, I don't curse on the show, and I try to lead by example. Just some people have gotten so foul-mouthed on social media when they're talking about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. It's just, it appears that cryptocurrency is not ready, and Bitcoin's not ready for prime time. If you're going to talk like that, you can talk like that if you want to, but then just don't be shocked that, you know, Bitcoin adoption, people don't want to be a part of Bitcoin, because most people don't. When they're talking about finances, imagine if you went up to the bank teller and she started talking about S coins with you, you know, and I'm not going to say the word, and started using the word S and F and all the words, and using foul language. I mean, what the heck? I'm not keeping my money here. The teller is talking like this. What's going on? So, I'm doing what I think is right here. You can do what you think is right. But yeah, there's a certain maturity level you have to have, I think, when you're dealing with finances. If people are going to get into this new form of money, they're going to have to feel comfortable, and they're not going to want to be involved in a currency that they think is dominated by a bunch of kids cursing at each other. And it isn't a bunch of kids cursing at each other. It's just there are some high-profile kids cursing at each other. So yeah, think about it. Just think about it. I'm throwing it out there. You know, cut down on the cursing a little bit, maybe. All right, what else? Yeah, so Bitcoin is ready for prime time. It is ready for prime time, baby. But yeah, there are ways to slow it down. There are ways to make things a little to stretch things out a little longer than necessary. Again, it's going to take some time. Things are going to take time, but there are things that we can avoid that will perhaps speed up the process. All right. Casso 20%er said in the chat the other day, and he made a very good point. People have time and money for suing, but haven't the time and money to buy and learn how a hardware wallet works. So what he was talking about was during the show, I mentioned how people had kept their Bitcoin on Coinbase, and they're very disappointed that almost a year and a half later, Coinbase hasn't credited them with their BGold crypto dividend, and that they might want to sue. So yeah, he's absolutely right. It would have been a lot easier just to not keep your Bitcoin on Coinbase. It would have been cheaper to buy a Trezor, and just then you wouldn't have to worry. And so yeah, people do seem to have time to sue, but they didn't have time in the past to buy that Trezor. So think about it. You know, so you can take some, you can make some moves early on that will save you a lot of time and money in the future, and a lot of frustration. So the concept of controlling your private key is very basic and very fundamental to Bitcoin. And it avoids a lot of the things we don't want to deal with: lawsuits, confiscations, banks. Okay, now in the email that was recently sent to me, I'm sharing this. We talked about a information hack of an exchange stealing KYC information. Well, here's a guy that contacts me, and his buddy is high up at a company. I don't know what this company deals with, but they've been hacked, and the hacker has frozen everything, and he is demanding over $1 million worth of Bitcoin. And they're trying to get $1 million worth of over $1 million worth of Bitcoin. So I mean, this is some real thing. This is some real life, people. It's being used, all right. It's being used. So we're gonna have to deal with story. Now, no one's writing about this. This was something that was relayed to me, but it's a true story. It's a true story. The person is trying to acquire, was asking me how to acquire over $1 million worth of Bitcoin. And I mean, I said, well, are you sure there's no way to negotiate it down some, and maybe you can hire a person to unhack things? I don't know. I don't exactly know what has happened in this situation, but yeah, I guess their files have been taken over by this person that's demanding Bitcoin. We'll hear more about this in the future. There'll be more and more of this, but again, it shows you that it's when people say, "Oh, it's not real money." It's not. No, it is real money. If the bad guys want it, unfortunately, it's real money. And yeah, don't be a bad guy. Don't do things like that. Norway. Okay, so we had a friend from Norway in the other day during the chat send the super chat saying, well, here I have the article. It's in Norwegian, but you can translate it. Norges Bank is considering, and I guess that's the central bank of Norway, is considering issuing electronic money. Central bank governor Øystein Olsen, and he spells that Øystein with that special type of O with a line through it. Pound that like button for letters that don't exist in the English language. Øystein Olsen looks at the opportunity to launch digital money based on blockchain technology, but is highly critical of Bitcoin. So, so they're not. So I originally thought like, oh wait, the Norwegian central bank is issuing its own cryptocurrency. Wow, that's big news. They're thinking about it. They're considering it, but they are highly critical of Bitcoin. I don't think there have been any news stories about this in the English language, so you're hearing about it here first. They're considering it in Norway, but of course, at the same, and so what they might end up is with that cashless society thing that I was just talking about beforehand, and negative interest rates. Maybe that's the direct. And so, yeah, of course, they don't want you getting into Bitcoin because that's the only way to opt out of such a system. Norway is a very modern and wealthy country. Shout outs to them. But no, they can do something like this, and the people they'll accept it. There are plenty of smart people there, so some of them will get it. But yeah, they'll still accept it. The smart people will even accept it. But the elite, the 20%ers, the ones who have a long-term thinking, they'll plan ahead, hopefully. And there are Norwegian guys that I met with in Oslo and in Bergen that know plenty about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. So yeah, all my Norwegian watchers of the show, read that article. And people who could translate it, there's ways to translate it. Now, here's an article from Bitcoin Magazine, Aaron von Weirdum, and he specifically warns people, don't read this article if you suffer from the block size debate fatigue. And it is time to take an initiative to decrease Bitcoin's block size seriously. Yeah, so there are people who want to decrease the size of the Bitcoin, the block size, the Bitcoin block size. And, you know, I say if it's not broke, you know, don't fix it. Some people are kind of saying that it is broke, that it's, that if you make the block size smaller, it'll be easier to run your own node, and not enough people are running a full node now. Because it can take up a lot of space on your laptop and take a while, take time. And maybe what's needed is just a more, you know, an easier way to run a full node, a more efficient way to run. I wouldn't mess with. And the article itself says that this isn't going to probably pick up momentum. But read the article, read it. I don't want to give it too much attention. I think a lot of people give it attention just to create FUD in the Bitcoin world. Oh, now they're saying they got to make the block size smaller. No, there's just a few people saying it, and it doesn't seem to be an end of the world type of scenario or anything like that. But I thought I would mention it because, you know, people are FUDding about it, and Aaron writes good articles. He is a good writer. All right, that's the end of the show for today. Thank you, everybody. Remember, bang that bell button if you need a reminder of when the show goes live, even though YouTube doesn't send me reminders of when the show goes live, even though I bang the bell button, but whatever. Pound that like button. Click on all the squares that you see at the end of the show so you can see all the recent shows, and check out the links below to watch the recent shows. I do a new show here every day, baby. You know I'm consistent. You know I got that conviction. You know I love that Bitcoin. Keep that strong hand, people. Baby, you got to have some energy here at it is midnight now. See you guys in the chat. Bye-bye.